Hey everyone, welcome to Realization Hub. My name is Michelle Corazao-Dinu, and I am a professional clairvoyant, spiritual counselor, and channeler. And I help sensitive, awakened souls learn how to tap into their own answers and be in command of their own energy. I do that through one-on-one personal sessions where I provide intuitive insight, intuitive counseling. I also facilitate lots of healing and integration work with people one-on-one. I also offer group sessions now, as well as channeled messages and free guided meditations each month. And I offer programs that allow you to really develop your intuition, learn how to use self-healing energy tools, become aware of your own energy and how to manage it through your life's journey, whether it's the ups, the downs, the twists, the turns, the bad, the good, your whole evolution from awakening to embodied enlightenment and living on earth as a master. So if you are interested in any of that, you can find more information in the description box below. With that said, this video is an energy update for August 2021, and it is filmed in the present moment, which means it is timeless. And so anytime you're watching this video, whether it's August 2021 or some totally other different time, you're gonna find something in it for you. So keep watching. Before I get started with mass consciousness in August, I just want to circle back to July 2021 and just recap that for a little bit. If you haven't watched the whole video of July 2021, you should go do that now, because I talk about mass consciousness kind of coming to a dead end and being prompted to go into more of like an imaginary state or a dream state to kind of create the new world that's coming. And what I picked up about last month in July, it being some type of mass consciousness reckoning, kind of like that feeling if someone's living above you, making a lot of noise, and all of a sudden, after hours and hours of noise, you're like, what is going on up there, you know? Same thing was kind of happening in July. There was a lot of energetic stuff happening in July, and that was the experience of a lot of old global dynamics breaking down and a lot of new global dynamics being created all at once. And so it was kind of like a reckoning. And I remember like somewhere mid-month, I had to stop during my day after hearing from like lots of different people and going through my own experiences. I had to stop during the day and check my calendar to see if there was a full moon or something that I had missed, because it was getting crazy. So a lot of people did report how intense July was for them. Some people just experienced some level of like tiredness and fogginess. Other people experienced major intensity. You know, beautiful moments for sure were happening for lots of people. New beginnings, births, new creations, but at the same time, a lot of endings, a lot of breakdowns, a lot of stuck energy falling away and more flow coming through and more movement coming through. So it was beautiful and amazing, but also just intense and kind of crazy for some people. I personally went through a lot of physical discomfort, and so did a lot of other people that I talked to. So there was definitely stuff happening in the air, but not necessarily like physically on Earth, not a ton of like major physical change happening on the planet, but definitely a lot of energetic change. So as we enter August, it's almost as if we're leaving a mass exodus of energy dynamics from last month. And what I'm picking up on about that is that was so intense for people, like the energy dynamics changing so quickly, that some people actually left the planet in July. Some people passed away. They came down with an illness, some kind of disruptive event happened and they left. But I noticed that some people already started leaving the planet last month because it was getting too intense. And although like on a human level experience, that can be kind of shocking or frightening or put you through a grief process or kind of like a resistance type feeling for some of you, Really what I see is those souls were kind of looking at what was happening, and a lot of them were saying, this is changing really fast. I wish I could just start over and push the reset button so that I could come into this in a different way, so that I could experience this in a different way. I want to like spend some time outside of the human reality and just kind of integrate some things and come up with some new pathways of how to approach this experience going into this new world. Okay, so this is kind of what I was picking up about those those on the planet that just like could not handle some of the energy happening in July and just straight up kind of left. Now, this is where I'd like to say that although this is all happening on a global level and it's kind of happening, within the same time for people, it's a very individual experience. So just because stuff's happening out on a global level energetically, it doesn't mean everyone's going to have the same experience. Some people are going to be feeling tired. Other people are going to feel like they're going crazy. Some people aren't going to feel it at all. Some people are going to be a little bit more emotional or a little bit more mental. It's kind of an individual, different experience for everyone because everyone carries a unique energy fingerprint, if you will. Everyone's just unique. They've all had their unique experiences. They all carry their own unique energy. And to go through this together, although we're all kind of on the planet at the time of this huge, massive energetic reckoning, people are having unique individual experiences. But with that said, I can say there's a common thread or a string that I noticed happening in mass consciousness from July moving into August, and that is that there was a very big change in the dynamic of people's creative ability. It's almost as if mass consciousness was having a breakthrough in their creative energy. However, that concept of a breakthrough might sound really great mentally, but going through the experience of a breakthrough can be kind of intense. So, some people felt a lot of stuckness. Some people felt agitation, anger. Some people felt a lot of passion come through. Some people finally felt a flow start to come through. But these are all kind of symptoms of kind of a theme that was happening on a global level where people were actually having a breakthrough on a creative level. This has a lot to do with a new creative dynamic that is starting to rise on the planet. And this is what I'm talking about in August. In August, you can think of August for some people like the eye of the storm, kind of like when you're in the middle of a hurricane or in the middle of like a tornado. Like everything's pretty chaotic as it moves through, but at some point, especially with like a hurricane, you might be in the eye of the storm and there's like that eerie stillness where everything kind of calms down. And this is the best example I can give for what's happening in mass consciousness right now. Like if you look at the summer, starting sometime around May, moving into, the middle of the summer, there was an accelerated rise in consciousness happening on the planet. A lot of people have come to their full realization, as well as other people just expanding their consciousness and becoming even more aware, even more conscious, bringing their consciousness to new levels, okay? So in a way, people have been getting brighter, if you will, lighter, if you will, over the last few months. And it's been happening on a pretty massive level. And it's been happening really fast. And so what I see happening is that because consciousness has accelerated and risen very quickly over the last few months, it has activated a lot of energy really fast on the planet to the point in which it's created almost like a gravitational pull of this energetic storm, if you will. So in a way, it has created almost like an energetic hurricane or an energetic storm that is now moving through mass consciousness. Now, it's not based on location. I know when we're thinking about weather systems, we can like watch a hurricane in a specific location move through a specific location. But with an energy storm, it doesn't work like that. It's not necessarily that it's only happening at certain parts of the planet. It can, and it certainly has before, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what happens every time. Really, with an energetic storm, what it does is it typically impacts the people that have an energetic match to the storm. So let's say in this case, we've got a storm going through mass consciousness, which is basically energetically destroying old creative dynamics, okay? And if you individually hold one of those old creative dynamics, then you might feel that energetic storm more intensely than someone who may not be holding those old energy dynamics around their creatorship. So really, when we're looking at this energetic storm, some people have already gone through it. Maybe that was your experience in June or July. Some people are going to go through that in August, whereas others are going to be more in that eye of the storm, where like, you know, maybe it was crazy at the beginning of the summer and now it's just kind of calming down. But I really see that energetic storm being pretty potent over the next few months, just kind of moving through mass consciousness, giving it a cleanse. And that's what the storm is. It's not something that's going to kill people. It's not something to be afraid of. It's just energy. And what it's doing is coming to help rebalance the planet. And it's essentially, you can think of it as a cleanse, okay? The thing about a storm, like an energy storm, is that it's just like weather. You know, the human part of you cannot stop a storm. The human part of you cannot stop the hurricane or the tornado, okay, or the lightning or the thunderstorm, okay? The human part of you has to go through that experience sometimes, okay? And I'm not saying everyone's gonna go through this experience. I'm just saying if you have an energetic match with some of these old creative dynamics that are being cleansed on the planet right now, you might feel something. You might go through your own kind of energetic cleanse of sorts. What's exciting about this kind of energetic storm is, although I'm describing it as like this storm, you know, and typically a lot of people might see that as something negative, it's really pretty amazing because what's happening, the energy intelligence to the storm is that it's giving mass consciousness a cleanse in their creative energy. Because if you remember from my last video in July, there's about to be some big changes happening on Earth over the next 5, 10, 15, 50 years, okay? Some big, massive changes happening on the planet, all right? Now, if you take this on a personal level and you think about some of the personal changes that you've been through, sometimes when those changes happen, maybe you weren't too conscious about it, okay? And it almost felt like something was happening to you that you had no control over. And in those experiences, it could have felt disempowering. It could have felt scary. It could have felt chaotic. It could have felt crazy. You could have felt like a victim to change, all right? Now, what's beautiful about this cleansing that's happening in mass consciousness right now, and this rebalancing that's happening in mass consciousness right now, especially around that creative energy, is that in a way it's naturally prepping mass consciousness to be more aware, to be in more of this like updated creative vibration for the planet, so that as it goes through change, it's not change happening to you, it's change that you're conscious about and that you're consciously choosing. So in a way, it's not like old change that's happened on the planet that's been kind of like crazy and spontaneous and apocalyptic. This is prepping mass consciousness to go into conscious change, okay? Where they're able to tap into their wisdom about some things, their intuition about some things, some ideas, some insights, you know, thinking outside of the box and actually coming up with change that has a level of consciousness to it that can sustain the planet, that can sustain society, that can sustain life here and have new ways of living, new structures, new energy dynamics, okay? So really this is a beautiful sign, although it's disruptive a little bit energetically or a lot, or really intense for some people. It is overall a very beautiful thing happening, a beautiful rebalancing happening. It is allowing mass consciousness to be more conscious of the change that's coming on the planet, to go into the change in a conscious way, okay? When you bring consciousness into the equation, especially with change, it can be so much more graceful, and it can be so much more serving for the betterment of everyone, instead of people going into to change unconsciously with the agenda of greed, power, authority, fear, whatever it might be. Okay, so this is maybe intense for some people, but it is in fact beautiful. So back to August, you could think for some people, August being the eye of the storm, maybe a bit of a break between cleansings happening in mass consciousness. It's not that the storm died down, it's just kind of me trying to bring some definition to what's going on. Honestly, things that really can't be defined, I'm trying to bring a little bit of definition to them. And so, take this with a grain of salt, because words cannot really describe what is happening on the planet right now. But, some people might be experiencing the storm, the cleansing going on. Other people might be more in the eye of the storm, okay, where they're getting a break from the cleansing that's going on in August. So if it feels like nothing's really happening in August, take that as an indication that it's a good time for you to enjoy your life, regain your balance, recover, set up more structures in your life that can support you when you go into intense cleansing again. For some of you, that might mean having a friend that you talk to every week about the energy going on, or a group that you can join to help not feel alone through this, or perhaps signing up and empowering yourself to learn how to manage your own energy or develop your own intuition, or reading books and educating yourself about spirituality or awakening or embodied enlightenment, or finding a therapist, or just, whatever you might struggle through an energetic cleansing. You might want to start thinking about not how to avoid this, how to stop this, or how to prevent this, or how to hide from it, but more so how to build structure in your life to support you when it happens. It's not a matter of if it happens, it's a matter of when it happens. And so as much as people usually, especially in the beginning of their awakening journey, don't like these types of cleanses that happen spontaneously, they do happen, they will continue to happen. And it's not about avoiding it, resisting it, hiding from it. A lot of times you can't do that. And so it's more about really starting to ask yourself some good, deep questions about how you can support yourself through these experiences. They will continue to happen on the earth. The earth is going through major change, and you will continue to see cycles of energetic cleansing, energetic deconstruction, at the same time as things being birthed and a new flow of creativity happening on the planet into new structures, new dynamics, everything new. So when you think about these energetic storms, you can think of them as an energy cleanse happening on a massive level for mass consciousness. And now if you were following my energy updates since June or July, you will have seen my perspective of what's happening on the planet, which is that mass consciousness has kind of reached a dead end. This pandemic gave everyone a big reset to go within and decide what is important to them. And as they emerge into this new life, you can think of mass consciousness, not everyone, okay, we're talking about the general essence of the energy happening on the planet, But you can think about mass consciousness kind of stepping at the edge of the cliff and saying, I cannot live this way. I cannot live this way anymore. Something has to change. Something has to change. I can't do this anymore. I can't live this way anymore. Structure has to change. This has to change. That has to change. Okay. So, the fact that this energetic cleansing is happening is a very good sign that things are rebalancing, so that when we do go into change, mass consciousness is going to be more aware and more tapped in. Now, specifically, when I'm looking at the energy of this storm, it looks like it is really breaking down energy dynamics related to creativity, just like I said. But particularly, I'm noticing that it's really impacting mass consciousness around the energy of their head. Okay, a lot of times when you think about the energy in their head, if you're familiar with the chakra system, some of you, the energy around the head would be like the 5th chakra, the 6th chakra, the 7th chakra. These are the energy centers that I really see mass consciousness getting like a big cleanse through, okay? And if you aren't aware of the chakras, if that's not your thing, you don't resonate with that kind of energy language, you can just think about it, about the energy around your head, okay? A lot of that is being opened up in mass consciousness and going through a rebalancing. And really what I notice about that is that mass consciousness is getting a cleansing and releasing energy that inhibits them or limits them from tapping into their wisdom. And that's important because when you go into big change in your own individual life or on a big, massive level that's happening on planet Earth right now, to be conscious and go through change consciously, it can be so graceful to be able to tap into your wisdom so you don't repeat past mistakes. Okay, so you are approaching these changes with wisdom, so that it is graceful and so that the choices that you make support you. They come from wisdom rather than power, greed, control, fear, you name it. So what does this mean for sensitive souls that are watching this video who are sensitive to energy? Because this storm is like kicking up dust around the world and a lot of you feel it. Well, the first thing I'd like to mention is that this is quite possibly affecting your perspectives, the way you express yourself, and your knowingness, and how you tap into your own wisdom. And so really what I'd recommend if you do have any tools for energy management is to really focus on the head area, okay? For those of you that work with the chakras, that would be your 5th, 6th, and 7th chakra. But a lot of these areas is where I'm noticing the cleansing happening. Okay, so being aware of those areas, resetting those areas, giving them a healing, rebalancing them is a great way to manage your energy when you start to feel the impact of mass consciousness going through these little storms of cleansing going on the planet. Again, everyone experiences these cleanses in different ways, and they happen and they come to fruition in people's lives in different ways. So I really recommend that you don't compare your energetic experience to someone else's energetic experience, because it could be similar in some ways. It could be totally different. I don't want you to invalidate yourself or make yourself feel even more alone or even more misunderstood just because you're having a different experience, okay? So this is just a general kind of outline of maybe what some of you can expect, but if it's not matching up to this message, don't worry about it, okay? Just recognize everyone's experience is different. But for some people going through this energetic storm, they might feel increased tiredness, you might feel headaches, you might feel stuckness, you might feel brain freeze, brain fog, confusion, disorientation. For some people, if it gets really intense and that opening happens really fast, it could lead to some type of spiritual emergency or spiritual psychosis. And there's nothing to be scared about with that. It's just that's usually happens when something opens up really fast in your energy and your mind has a hard time keeping up with it. So really, if you do find yourself going into states of feeling a little bit altered or a little bit crazy, I highly recommend slowing down the pace of your life, taking a lot more time to yourself, taking moments of quiet time and solitude, and lots of breathing. Going out into nature can be a very grounding experience if you're going into some altered states or types of spiritual psychosis. And again, this is an extreme end, and I just want to, I want to acknowledge, everyone in the spectrum of what they might be experiencing during these energetic storms, because there are going to be some people that just feel tired and that's it. All right. And then there's going to be some people straight up going into spiritual psychosis, feeling really crazy, like they're just out of control. All right. So I just want to acknowledge you on this spectrum. And I don't want you to be scared of any of it. Okay. I really don't. The purpose of this video is just to bring some awareness to what's happening on the planet, so that if you do step into something like this, you don't have to be scared. You can just allow through it. You can just breathe and recognize that it's temporary and that you're going to be okay, and that ultimately it's bringing balance to your energy and it's helping the planet become more consciousness so that it can enter this change on the planet more consciously. So one of the first tools that you can ever use when you're going through an energetic event is grounding yourself. Now, there's a whole bunch of different methods of grounding yourself. I personally teach how to ground yourself using energetic tools. Other people recommend eating foods, different types of foods, going out into nature. There's a lot of, some people recommend, crystals. There's a lot of different ways you can play with grounding. I just want to throw it out there that I offer a free meditation every single month. And one of the first things I do in those free meditations is walk everyone through a grounding exercise. And that is because when you're going through an energetic cleanse, a lot of old stuff might be coming out, and if you're not grounded, that energy just might be a little bit stuck and stagnant, kind of building up as like excess charge in your space. And when you're grounded, it's just like grounding an electrical socket. That excess charge has some place to go to instead of hanging out in your space for you to process it and get stuck in. All right, so one of the first things I recommend, especially if you're feeling kind of crazy and kind of like you're going into altered states, is grounding yourself and signing up for my free meditation. I also recommend keeping a journal and maybe journaling your day each day as you go through this energy stuff, because really I feel like when it comes to getting a handle on these expansions and these deep cleanses happening on the planet, is recording it and looking back at it and noticing your own personal rhythms and patterns as you go through those energetic experiences. You might start to see a pattern in like, oh, this is what it's like when I'm kind of like slightly going through a cleanse. I can still function, I can still do daily life. And this is what it's like when I'm on the extreme end and I need to stop and take care of myself. So just a little recap for mass consciousness. There is this kind of fast accelerated rise in consciousness happening on the planet this summer, and it has kicked up a lot of energy. It's activated a lot of energy on the planet to the point where it's created almost like a gravitational pull into like an energetic storm that's kind of cleansing and rebalancing mass consciousness right now, really bringing everything into more balance around their creative ability and approaching how they create new change from more of a conscious place with more connection and opening to their own wisdom, so that when we go into this new big change on the planet, or just your own individual change in your life, you're approaching it with more consciousness versus unconsciousness, versus that experience of just letting anything happen or asking the question, what's going to happen, and not really being in the driver's seat of the change as it's happening. The good news is that mass consciousness is going through a cleanse in their creative ability. It is opening up mass consciousness to tap into their wisdom so that this change is more conscious. Although it could be uncomfortable for many of you, intense for some of you, crazy for some of you, just exhausting or tiring for some of you, it's kind of one of the amazing things about living on the planet right now. This experience has never happened on the planet before. It is kind of apocalyptic sometimes. It is definitely crazy and chaotic and disruptive sometimes, but at the same time, it's beautiful. And it is like a prime time to be on the planet right now and witness all of this happen. So, as much as you're going through the human experience of all this, which can be uncomfortable, make sure you take a big dose of the higher perspective with you because it is pretty amazing. For those of you going through your awakening, I kind of see this image of you being on like a ship, like a sailboat, you know? And like it's almost like the wind has been blowing in the sails and it's kind of sunny outside. It's decently pleasant. You definitely look like you're kind of in a transition of sorts or just, you know, sailing through life. But I noticed like the wind changing and it's not enough to like disrupt anything, but it's enough for you to energetically kind of perk up and kind of go, what's happening? Is there a storm coming? Is there a change coming? It just feels like there's some kind of intuitive antenna right now kind of perked up for you about some kind of change coming in your life. And it's just like if a breeze changed in the air, it's just enough to say, that's different. Like something's happening. What's happening there? The thing about that is I feel that this is actually triggering you. This intuition or this feeling of change starting to brew in your life is kind of triggering you. And that's probably because in the past, sometimes your relationship to change has been negative. It's been destructive. It's been like the tower falling apart. It's been like, rough experience, things happening spontaneously, out of control, feeling kind of scary or alone through change, or just, not feeling like you know what to do during change. And so I see a lot of that kind of old stuff and that resistance to change kind of getting triggered right now. Because there does seem to be kind of like a change in the air brewing for you that you're starting to be aware of. Now, although you might start feeling like some change brewing in your life, maybe it's small change, big change, maybe it's around your relationships, your work life, your health, where you live, you might be feeling a little bit of that change in the air energetically. It might be kind of triggering you and fearing the unknown or causing some resistance there. But really, what I feel your wisdom might be prompting you to do is to actually start connecting with yourself. I really see that August is a good time to really start connecting with yourself and taking that as more of like an empowering step towards change versus the old pattern, which is to resist it, to hide from it, to be scared of it, to judge it, to worry about it, whatever your old patterns are. It looks like August could really be a beautiful month where you start to really lean more into self-connection versus those old patterns. Because when change is approaching, let's say the wind in the air changes and you're on a sailboat. Instead of sitting on the bench and kind of enjoying, the ride on the sailboat and letting that wind just take you in any direction, really when that wind starts to change, it's supposed to prompt you in a way to get up and go to the sailboat steering wheel and get in command of where that ship is sailing, okay? And one way to be in command of where that change is going and how that change happens is to connect with yourself. Because when you're connected with yourself, you get clarity. And when you get clarity, whether you like that clarity or not, it will inform you of decisions to make, how to do things, when to do things, and it creates a more graceful, empowering experience through change where you feel like you're in the driver's seat of that change rather than sitting on the bench letting change happen to you. So some basic things that you can do to help yourself connect. One of the most obvious ones that I feel is so obvious that I almost don't want to say it is quiet time with yourself, meditation time with yourself. If you're not sure how to connect with yourself or be aware of your own energy, or you have a hard time connecting with yourself, I do offer classes, one-on-one sessions, and group sessions that can help you manage your energy so that you can create a space, an energetic space for you to connect with yourself. But either way, what I'm trying to say is some type of meditation or quiet time or solitude is a great way to connect with yourself. A lot of times when you're in the hustle and you're in the busy day-to-day life, or you're just surrounded by lots of different people with different opinions, it can be hard to hear your own voice. It can be hard to feel your own intuition. It can be difficult to feel your own energy. And so a lot of times, in order to create that connection with ourselves, it does require moments of solitude, days off in solitude, going within and doing some type of meditation, breath work, or just quiet time with yourself, solitude time with yourself, so that you can, in fact, connect with yourself. Another thing that I saw as a good tip for you, as far as building that connection with yourself, is having some kind of journal, both for recording your dreams and being able to interpret those dreams. Like I said, a lot of this stuff happening on the planet right now is really energetic. So quite frankly, some people are doing all of this in their sleep. And so you might be having more active dreams, more lucid dreams, more meaningful dreams. You just might notice things happening in your dreams. And a lot of times that could be you doing the energy stuff in your sleep. And so what I do recommend is having a dream journal where you can record your dreams every day and go into your own interpretation of them. I know that it can be tempting to kind of go on the internet and Google what dreams mean and what symbols mean, but really what could be more empowering is asking yourself what that symbol means, asking what that feeling means, asking yourself what that color means, asking yourself what that conversation means. Okay, I would do that first before you go onto the internet or into your dream journal or dream dictionary and start to interpret it based off outside information. Because a lot of these symbols and colors and conversations that you are having in your dreams is actually your own intimate palette of communication in your energy speaking to you. And there is no dream dictionary out there, no source on the internet that's going to interpret that as intricate as you can interpret it yourself. So I highly recommend a dream journal, or even a journal to record just what you want in your life. Like, a lot of times life gives us clarity that we don't like. I don't want this. I don't like this. I want this to stop. I can't stand this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I don't want it to be this way. That is actually clarity. But really what I see you can connect more with is the type of clarity of what you do want. So if you find yourself in that vibe of like, I don't like this, I don't want this, try to pivot that into the vibe of, I do want this. This is what I want. I would be excited for this to happen. Okay? Go into what you do want. Have some fun. Like, if you could have anything in your life, characteristics, who you are, relationships, experiences, opportunities, whatever it is, physical possessions, whatever it is, if it makes you excited, if it makes you enthusiastic, if it gives you passion, if it gives you inspiration, put it down on a piece of paper, create a list for it, okay? In a way, that is a practice of connecting with yourself, because that part of you, that creator part of you is joyful, it is ecstatic, it is inspired, it is ready to go out there and live. And so when you tap into those things that you want, that make you excited and joyful and passionate, that is a sign of connection with yourself. So you might create a list of things that you actually want in your life, things that you'd love to have, things that you want to create and experience and be. So really, just to boil it down, if there's a certain exercise that you do, a practice that you do, activity that you do that helps you connect with yourself, do that. August is a great time to connect with yourself, because there quite possibly could be some energetic change happening for you. The wind is changing, change is brewing for you, and now's not the time to sit back and say, what's going to happen? I'm so scared of what's going to happen. Now is the time to get into the driver's seat and connect with yourself and decide, this is what I want to happen. This is what I want to create, okay? So I highly recommend connection be a focal point for you in August. For those of you going through your embodied enlightenment, I really feel like August could be a beautiful month for you to do some tender self-care and love and restoring, replenishment. I just really sense that you have gone through kind of maybe a bigger opening than usual, or yeah, kind of like an opening. And when you think about an opening, it sounds beautiful, just like every other energetic event. Healing, breakthrough, opening, it all sounds so mentally beautiful. But going through an opening could have put you through lots of fatigue. It could have stressed you out. It could have been you confronting a lot of stuck energy. It could have been you confronting resistance or things that kept you separated from yourself, old wounding, going beyond old wounding. Either way, an opening can leave you very sensitive, very fatigued, and raw and vulnerable feeling. And quite frankly, a little disoriented in a new state, in a new way of how you are in this world. And so I really feel that right now in August could be a good time to just acknowledge that maybe you're feeling more sensitive than usual, a little bit more vulnerable than usual, adjusting to some new states that you haven't fully adjusted to. Could be a good time to really focus on your recovery and restoring yourself and being very self-loving and receiving. I know the whole mass consciousness is kind of going through a cleanse around their creative ability and kind of working out their creative muscles so that they can approach these big changes with consciousness. But for those of you going through your embodied enlightenment, you are working a creative muscle yourself, but it's not necessarily the same creative muscle as mass consciousness. You seem to be working out that creative muscle around receiving and receiving your creations and receiving your wisdom and receiving your knowingness and receiving your clarity and receiving your next steps. So if you're going through your embodied enlightenment, it might be a good time to slow things down, take it easy, get some more rest, make sure you're getting enough sleep, make sure that you're eating well, that you're enjoying your life, that you're just taking a moment to recover, because it does seem that you've kind of blown through some old stuff. You've gone into more of like an opening, more of a vulnerability, more of a sensitivity level, and it just might be a good time to just rest and recover in August and just be really self-loving. And in fact, the more that you can communicate that to other people and let them know what you need, the smoother that experience could be. You could literally just communicate like, hey, I'm feeling a little bit more vulnerable than I usually am, or more sensitive than I usually am, or I just need more space and time alone this month. Just being able to communicate your new needs. Recognize that you might have new needs because you are more vulnerable, because you are more sensitive, because you have gone into a new open state. You might have different needs now. So it might be a good time to recognize what those needs are and at least communicate them to yourself, if not some other people in your life who you interact with on a frequent basis. Some of my favorite ways to relax and recover is getting in the ocean, having warm hot tub moments, getting into a warm bath with salt water, aromatherapy, sound therapy, nourishing food, rest, extra sleep, nice, soft, gentle touches, massages, drinking plenty of water, journaling, connectivity with myself, with other people, just having kind of gentle, relaxing movements, exercise. All of that feels very restorative. I also teach energy tools and teach people how to replenish energetically. So if you do feel like you need some energetic replenishment, feel free to contact me, sign up for one of my free offerings or a group session or a personal session. I'm here to help you get replenished if needed. Really, I'm looking at the month of August for you, and it just seems that it's a good time to recover. It's a good time to rest. It's a good time to let your body catch up and practice that muscle of receiving. All right, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe to this channel. It really helps me out a lot. I hope you have a great day, great evening, whenever you're watching. Take care. Bye.